I'm desperate to have a better relationship to money. A key step in developing that is trying to distinguish between money troubles and money worries. Money troubles can only be solved by more money. The bills are coming in, the income is too small, somehow you've got to find more money to meet the expenses. Money worries have a different character. They're about what's going on in our minds, in our souls, not just what's going on in our bank accounts. Big example of money worry is envy. Let me introduce you to my car, which is a constant source of worry, money worries in my life. This is the best shot. This is its good angle, seen from behind. The rest of it is much more embarrassing. As I'm taking the children to school in the morning, they're wincing. I open the door, one of the doors that works. There's the dodgy one on the left. And as I open the door, I look into this grungy interior, and I feel, look, I've got to buy a new car. And then I think, look, but the expense, how am I going to find the money? So I have this money worry, and it's focused. The children say, please don't drop us near the school. And actually, I share their sentiment, because I know what happens if I drop them at the school. I see this guy. This is him in his lovely, shining interior of his car. It's all beautifully clean. It all works. The air conditioning is great. He's not going to get too hot. And his children, of course, are proud and happy. So I have this experience of envy. Now, envy is a painful experience that it has a humiliating character. It's a desire that makes us feel humiliated. And it's not surprising that envy has been regarded as something we should just get rid of. Here is an image of envy as a mortal sin. Envy is so bad that you don't just get roasted for having envy, you also get a snake to come and eat out your eyes. That's how bad it is. So the message here is stop. No envy. Cut it out. But I think envy is a bit more interesting than that, and that we shouldn't just be trying to eliminate envy. We should be trying to get to understand it, get to know it, and see what good things might be hidden secretly within envy. I feel envy for people who stay at the hotel on your right, the Daniele in Venice. And in terms of it, so my envy there is worth investigating. What is it that I desire? Now, that hotel is very expensive, but it can't just be expensive. It's not just money, because the other hotel is vastly more expensive. But I don't feel any envy for the people who stay there. So the envy isn't just around the money, it's something else. Investigation of the envy reveals that it's who stayed at that hotel in Venice. And it turns out two of my heroes I associate with that hotel. There's Kenneth Clark, who developed the idea of civilization in a very popular way, and the literary critic Cyril Connolly. They seem to me images of how to be good at being a middle-aged man. So very exciting for me at the moment. They're quite good at being old. And they both, I think, stayed at this hotel, the Daniele, and that is part of what is fueling my envy. I want to stay there too. And that's what reveals the underlying secret fire of the envy. It's really a kind of beginner's guide to how can I get to be a bit more like these people. And the beginner's guide says, stay in the same hotel. And you think, well, maybe that's not going to really do it. And so by investigating the envy, you discover something more interesting, which is that you need to try and cultivate some of the qualities that these people had, some of their boldness of spirit, some of their determination to persist in the face of opposition, some of their inventiveness. And their ability to stay at that hotel really doesn't rank as central to who they are. We can also see a similar sort of structure when we look at the phenomenon of rivalry, economic rivalry. Sometimes if you ask yourself, how much money do I need in order to have an okay life? Instead of examining carefully, well, I need to buy these things, I need to pay for this and that, we actually just move to a very quick solution, which is to say, oh, I just need more money than that guy. Because in our heads, the real task of money is to feel a bit better, to feel that we're better than this crucial rival in our lives. For me, it started over the Monopoly board. One particular relative I felt very competitive with. I used to get so distressed. I'm just landing in the hotel, and I'm going to have to give him all my money. And that childhood competition, which I suppose was for competition for love of the wider family, that competition carried on in a very unhelpful way into adult life. So I could feel very sad about having a job that didn't pay enough, very humiliated because here's this person who's earning so much money, I'm not. And it's all really about trying to deal with childhood rivalry. So the solution, it's not really a money trouble. The solution to this problem isn't get more money. The solution is get more mature, get more psychologically free, get more independent, so that my life isn't anymore about trying to make up for losing all that game of Monopoly, but about what my adult life now should really deal with. And it's amazing to discover how vulnerable we are to carrying the psychological burdens of long ago right into our economic lives of today. In trying to address that, one of the techniques we can use, because we all think, of course, everyone else has a lot of psychological baggage around money. It's really interesting. I can see those people over there. They're a bit messed up when it comes to money. Of course, I'm not like that. How do we turn the spotlight on ourselves? Well, one way of doing that is to ask about key words and phrases that we almost without really thinking about it, just we freely associate with money. Here's an episode from the case study of my own life. When I think about money, one of the phrases I associate it with is the word shut up. An odd association. Well, to explain it, let me introduce my sister when she was 10. This was a period long ago when things weren't going that well in the family. Particularly my father was being very annoying, very easily irritated, was kind of a point of disagreement within the family, and also things weren't going that well economically. And one day, we got invited to the house of some really, really prosperous neighbors. And actually a really nice family. The father was this very sweet guy. And when we were leaving, and they were really quite conspicuously well off, and when we were leaving back to the car, and we were going on somewhere, and in this private space, my sister suddenly says, I wish we were rich. And the atmosphere in the car got incredibly tense. And we were all really, really shocked that she'd said this was like some terrible taboo statement. You must never say this. It was a moment where, I bet she's still traumatized by this, but it was this moment where you can see the connection between psychology and money really forming in a very powerful way. We were hurt, but really, in a way, what she was doing was thinking, look, the way to get a good family is to be like them. That is, you get a lot of money, and then you'll be a happy family. It's a very understandable conjunction. It's kind of like it's a beginner's guide to happy families. She's in a family that's not very happy, not much money. She gets into a family that's got quite a lot of money, going to be happy. And you could actually trace this. I've cleared this with her. You can trace this in her later experiments in how to have relationships. And it was a long time she wouldn't admit this was going on, that she would seek out people with quite a lot of money because she just assumed that's the way you get a happy family, that's the way you get a happy relationship. So the task here is actually about breaking the connections, about separating out the psychological material from the money material. It's almost as if we have to see money for what it is by stripping away the psychological additions and connections that we've made. It's kind of like the reverse engineering of a novel. For a novelist, it's incredibly exciting that money means all sorts of things. It means salvation. It means it means victory over a rival. It means now I can be the person I want to be. All the fantasies and associations that we bring to money, that's brilliant if you're a novelist. It's quite bad if you're a human being. Really what we want to do is reverse that process and not try to use money to solve all those other problems. They're very real problems, they're very fascinating problems, but money isn't the solution to them. They're not money troubles. Another way in which we try to organize our thoughts about money is to have a hierarchy of needs and mere desires. Needs are more sober, they have more dignity, kind of urgency. You don't need to feel guilty about your needs. Mere desires, mere wants, on the other hand, could be sort of quite frivolous, self-indulgent, rather luxurious. You should perhaps feel a bit of guilt about just pursuing mere wants, mere desires. Unfortunately, we've adopted quite a puritanical view of what's allowed to be classed as a need. And one of the interesting questions we should ask is, what are our real needs? The violin stands for an image of a very expensive need. Here's someone who's devoted many years to cultivating skill and sensitivity and performative abilities. They need a very expensive object. Right? That's not frivolous. They shouldn't feel guilty about that. The question is, okay, we're not, in general, devoted violinists. So how does that model of the legitimating idea of need play out in our own lives? It might be, for example, that someone really needs a garden with a large tree in it. That might be very expensive, but it's not a mere want. It might sit centrally into an account of a life. Just as it might be important to go to Rome or South America for 6 months to develop some sense of your own identity. That's not a mere want, it's a need. The task overall is, in a sense, to take money and our emotional lives and try to separate them. When we have money worries, money is sitting, as it were, inside a psychological concern and confusing it. It's all tangled up. That's what was happening with the envy at the beginning. I'm thinking that it's my inability to pay for the car that's making my life not go that well. And really, these are completely separate concerns. So the path to having a better relationship with money is the separation of what is just about money from the things which get entangled with it. Thank you.